Welcome to another episode of Rivals, and in today's episode we're going to be concluding with the current requests I've got so far for Gran Turismo 2 with a tale of two early 90s hatchbacks. The first car up is a 1993 Honda Civic 3-door SI. I mistakenly listed this before as the SIR, but I wasn't able to find one, so I think it's actually just SI. So it's 3-door SI Civic versus a 1992 Mitsubishi Mirage Cyborg R. These two cars were requested by Skyhurricane, and it's a bit of an interesting one because it's, just a little bit different compared to what we usually see. We usually had, some of the more higher end or fancier stuff, but this episode kind of brings it more down to a bit of a somewhat sporty hatchback thing, but it's more of a constrained, more of a relaxed, more of a kind of everyman car with a bit of punch to it with each. Now, the Mirage does have the horsepower advantage, having 170 horsepower, but is heavier at 2,292 pounds. In comparison, the Civic only has about 154 horsepower, but it only weighs about 2,094 pounds. So, whilst the Civic may be down on power, it is lighter, which might help it with its power-to-weight advantage. So, which one of these is going to be the best? And thankfully, these are both used cars you have to get in the used dealership, and I was very lucky to find both of them at the same time in a red to kind of fit a bit of a red theme there. So, I thought that was pretty interesting. Oops, wrong place. Anyways, the track that Skyhurricane has requested for these two cars is High Speed Ring, which is a bit of an interesting choice because these are more like You would think of High Speed Ring as a kind of good track for... Oh, and I chose the wrong thing again. As a kind of track for some of the more nicer, faster, higher end stuff. But no, just two ordinary sporty hatchbacks are going around. Now, I can't help but feel as if the red paint on the Civic here, they might have made the front bumper a little bit too big. I look at the other colors, it looks a little more natural, but on the red one, it looks a bit overgrown. I don't know, something seems kind of off there on the red. I mean, if I was able to find in that nicer, that kind of the color that I really like this car in this game, which is kind of like a aqua-ish bright blue, I would have loved. I'm sure it'd probably look okay on that, but on this, it just looks a bit too big. Something just seems off, I don't know. Maybe I'm just going crazy. Now, anyways, what do I think of the Civic? Well, of course, it is a front-wheel drive car. Both of these cars are front-wheel drive. So, of course, you're going to expect, a bit of understeer. Not really anything in the way of oversteer, because, front-wheel drive. Honestly, it's pretty good. It's pretty balanced, easy to get into, easy to drive. It's very, very easy, pick-up-and-go kind of car. Just kind of gets around nicely. No real worries of massive understeer or anything. It feels constrained, it feels relaxed. It kind of just feels like that kind of usual everyday Civic in real life, because that's kind of what I consider a lot of Civics. Now, I haven't driven much in my life personally outside of the video games, which is kind of disappointing because I love to be driving more. But the car that I learned to drive on to get my license was a Honda Civic, and I can tell you that driving one of those, it really kind of does feel like an everyday car. It's very constrained, very easy to use, and just quite nice. So I honestly wouldn't mind picking up a Civic as one of my first cars. I know it's usually the Civic is a butt of a lot of jokes because LOL VTEC kicked in and all that kind of stuff, but honestly, if you just need a simple car to just kind of get you going and you're not really worried about the badging or the name or anything like that, really a Civic, you can't really go wrong with them because they're fairly reliable cars. That's kind of Honda's reputation, is they build cars to last, and they've always been very good with that. I mean, hell, the NSX, the best flagship vehicle, as in the sportiest vehicles Honda's ever made. The NSX has a reputation for being a fairly reliable car. That's always been Honda's mentality, is make a car that not only does everything you need it to do, but also just can keep going and going and going, and you don't have to worry about maintenance and repairs and all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of why a lot of people go with the Civic. It's kind of why I would go with the Civic, because I don't want to worry about what's going on with my car. I just want to go and drive and just get there without any sort of hassle. I couldn't tell you if a Mitsubishi Mirage would be anything like that, especially because, as far as I know, I don't think Mirages were really sold over here in the 90s. I mean, here, where I'm from, Canada, we do get them, and it's the same in the U.S., we do get the Mirage, but everyone kind of knows that the latest Mirages are kind of really not very good. I mean, they're great for, they're fantastic if you need fuel, if fuel economy is the most important thing to you, because they're incredible for fuel economy, but they're really minimalist on power and accessories and luxury. It's not particularly very good. Although interestingly enough, whilst you guys get the if you're over from America, you guys also get the Mitsubishi Mirage. Over here in Canada, we actually do have something even cheaper than that that's sold. Nissan actually sells the Micra over here. Like, you guys don't get, in the US, don't get the Micra. We do. I don't know why, but Nissan sells it over here. It is the as far as I'm aware, it is the current cheapest car that you can buy in Canada is a Micra. I don't remember how much it is. I think it's like 10 grand or something. Something like that. It's probably a little bit more, actually. But it is currently, for a brand new car, nothing is Canada nothing in Canada sold brand new is cheaper than a Micra. It's pretty interesting. I guess maybe Nissan wanted to have a competitor for that Mirage. Although, if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure that Micra came first over here. I don't even remember, to be honest. But yeah, for whatever reason, the Canadian division of Nissan sells the Micra. And it's not like over here, us in Canada, we're getting skimped out on Nissans. We still get the likes of the 370Z and the GTR and all that kind of stuff. So it's not like we're missing out on any of that and instead getting a Micra. But anyway, so lap time wise, we got a pretty decent time. We got a 1 minute 10.933, which is fairly all right. Kind of what I was expecting. I mean, it's a decent car, has some power and drives fairly cleanly, and I can't really complain. But will that extra power come in favor for the Mirage, or is it going to be restrained, or is it going to be about on par, or is that extra weight gonna hurt it? Well, we're about to find out. Mitsubishi, though. The car almost sounds exactly the same, which I find pretty interesting. But yeah, Mitsubishi, what a steep decline that company has gone in recent years. Mitsubishi used to be such a better brand. It had a lot of fairly decent vehicles for the time. It had the GTO, it had the Lancer Evolution, it had a much more interesting Mirage, it had the Eclipse, it had all these fairly decent cars that kind of made the Mitsubishi brand, a decent choice for some. And almost all of them are gone. The GTO was discontinued in like 2000-ish. The Lancer Evolution was only recently left us. And the Mirage now is a joke. And the Eclipse also left, I think, like 5 years ago. Like, what is happening with Mitsubishi as of late? Who at Mitsubishi is saying that the current direction that company is heading is a good idea? Because they don't really have any kind of particular car that's really worth buying from them anymore. I mean, if you care about the SUVs, I'm thinking, I guess maybe they still sell the, what do they call it? The Highlander, the Endeavor? I don't even remember what they call it anymore. But has Mitsubishi just really fallen from grace? And it's disappointing because especially when the Evolution was around, it was a pretty solid choice for people who didn't like the Impreza, and now that's gone. And in fact, it's just kind of disappointing. Back in the 90s, it was a really interesting time for the Japanese market, because you had the Impreza WRX STI, you had the Lancer Evolution, you had the Skyline GTR, you had the RX-7, you had the Supra, you had all these different kinds of cars, and the NSX as well, and they're all just kind of disappeared for a long time. And these days the NSX, and whilst the NSX nameplate is back, it's competing with the GTR, whereas the WRX STI is kind of sitting in the same market that it always has sit in. And of course, Mitsubishi doesn't make the Lancer anymore, and Mazda, whilst I think they've kind of been just considering working on like a new car and stuff, it hasn't really mattered or anything because they haven't really, because it's been quite a number of years now. The RX-7 was gone a long time ago, and the RX-8 was discontinued early into the 2010s. And, you know, the rotary has had a tougher life cycle just simply because the rotary engine has become very obsolete. As much as I love the triangles and the rotaries and all that kind of stuff, they're just simply kind of falling behind the wayside. And with Toyota's case, whilst Toyota do seem to be ready to bring back the Supra. In fact, if I remember correctly, Toyota recently just reacquired and trademarked the Supra namesake, which hints that, yeah, Toyota is making a new Supra. Again, it looks like it's probably going to be competing alongside the GTR and the NSX, which just leaves the Subaru in its own in the field, over at least on the Japanese side. So what is it going against? Pretty much nothing from Japan, as far as I know, unless I'm missing something, because the same kind of cars nowadays that the Subaru kind of fares with is like the Ford Focus RS, the BMW M2. What else is there? I know I'm missing some. There's at least a few others that are kind of in the same kind of field, and I can't really pinpoint them right now. It's certainly a different ball. It's just I guess what I'm getting at is that it's just such a different ballpark these days. It's just so different. It's kind of, and it's, you know, it's just, again, it's disappointing. Like, I miss the days in the 90s when we had all these different kind of Japan-made cars kind of going at one another. It's just not the same anymore. It really isn't. So, you know, what can you do, I guess? Oh, by the way, I should have mentioned that I did beat the lap. I did a 1 minute 10.560, which means that even with the slight weight disadvantage, the Mirage is just that slightly faster. Although, if I'm gonna be completely honest, I think if you put these two cars around a more technical track, they're pretty much on par with one another. I mean, of course, by technicality, the Mirage wins, but really, both cars are kind of, I think they're pretty equal to one another. It would be more interesting to see what would happen if these cars were tuned up, but really, you honestly can't go wrong with either one if you're kind of looking to get like a little hatch like this in the game. But if time around a track like this really matters to you, then I guess maybe the Mirage is the one you want to go for. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for today's episode. The next episode, I believe we do have one more for the original Gran Turismo. Then we're going to look at some newer Gran Turismo titles, so that should be interesting. So stay tuned for that. As always, guys, if I've got about 6 episodes until I have 50 episodes on plan for this. So if you want to be one of those lucky 6 to mention something, feel free to, because after that I'm going to hold off from asking for any more, just simply because I have too many to take a look with. But yeah. But anyways, guys, of course, if you want to check out my Twitter, my Twitch, donate to my Patreon, or join my forum boards, the links for all that are down below. So thank you so much, guys, for watching, and as always, take care.